Welcome back to a very basic space program. You find us on the moon for what is going to be quite a different episode today because I'm just finishing some stuff off, getting it done before we have a big next episode. Hint, hint, the moon is involved, but it ain't going to be this craft. So, we are on the moon with Leela 2. It's going to be blasting off from the surface, and then we're going to send some more craft out, and it's going to be speedy up. Please join me. So yeah, we're departing the moon with Leela 2. This has been sat on the planet surface, the moon's surface for what, in excess of I think 90 days now. It's been gathering science, and of course this is the one that landed in the crater. I was a little concerned it would actually run out of electricity and things like that. We are actually using ascent guidance for this. So ascent guidance is set to basically blast it off and then going to roll it over. And you can see it's got this odd roll. I didn't fix it. I just let it do it. The ascent guidance, for some reason, when taking off with this craft, decided it was just going to let it roll round. I don't know if I'd knocked off roll control or something like that. It was just playing funny. But you can see just from that launch, just how deep that crater was actually. I forgot when we came into land just how deep it is. You'll also notice I used the landing stage as we get rid of it. I used the landing stage as the first stage for ascent, partly because I was going to leave the landing stage down, but we've done all the science. Because the last time we brought one of these back, the landing stage decided to glitch through the floor, explode, and was of completely no use. So anyway, here we are, just around the surface. Getting into orbit was pretty easy. We had the ascent guidance on. It floated into orbit. We did some low passes. We only got into an orbit of, I think it was like 15, 20 kilometers. It wasn't a very high one, and it was annoying. It was an annoying set of orbits actually, because it took time. This is just sped up considerably. In fact, it went round and round the moon, and it would not go faster. It decided to play very silly with me and not let me do anything. And of course, we go into the dark side. Now, luckily, this craft has got enough energy to survive, but look how low it is. I mean, you can actually see. I think ideally I should have put it into a higher orbit just for safety, because this was skimming. I mean, this is a skimming of a surface if you've ever seen one. So yeah, don't mess around with the moon. It has some quite high peaks. I think we were safe. I think we were okay, but yeah, you can see there we're about 25 kilometers at that point. We're getting into a decent altitude by this point here, so we were okay. We have a very low apoaps at times there. Right, now it's just time to get out of here, I think. So we fire ourselves off. You can see Earth in the distance there. It's a lovely little view. We basically just plotted a course back to Earth and fired the engines and went for it. And it was a long burn. We used the Asterisk engine on there, and I'm not a big fan of it. I used to love the Asterisk engine. The Asterisk engine in RP-1 used to be my go-to on-orbit engine, primarily because it never had a problem. It never had problems, but the Asterisk now seems to be a constant problem for me. And one of my concerns is, if we were to go to the moon, I can't remember which engine I used for my crew transport. It's been that long ago, and I've got a horrible feeling I've built these craft that have got Asterisk engines on, and I'm not going to know until I actually launch it. I've refused to let myself go and check, because what will be, will be. I think it's in my mind. So if we lose Kerbals, we lose Kerbals. It's my own fault for planning ahead. I used outdated knowledge and understanding of what we had. I didn't update it myself, and that's my own fault. But anyway, this was a reasonably long burn for this engine. It is sped up. I didn't engage the additional thrusters. I was concerned about the burn time on the Asterisk, actually. I was concerned that it would burn out. In fact, is this an Asterisk? It might be a 2 kilonewton thruster, thinking about it. I've said all that stuff about Asterisk. I should go back, edit it, remove it. Or I should just leave it in so you can hear just how confused I am. I think it's actually not. I think the Asterisk is on the other craft. But anyway, it is putting itself up there, and it's basically on its way. There was a required mid-course change, and we used the little side thrusters for that, because for some reason this was just not an enjoyable craft to get back to Earth. However, here we have our little departure shot, because of course you've got to have those. You can see the background there, you can see the moon floating away, we can see distant object enhancement is obviously showing us some other planetary bodies further away. We're probably visiting those. And I always think this is a nice little view, just as flying off into the distance. trying to get ourselves away from the moon, which is an eternal problem. It always amazes me because I'm now doing the Kerbalish series at the same time. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Going to the moon on Kerbalish and then coming back is a very different experience. And yes, I know it's scale and so forth like that, but actually it just changes the whole experience playing at sort of Kerbin scale versus Earth scale. And it's a bigger impact than you think. It actually changes how your play style changes. However, the main one is not being able to restart engines automatically. That's the big one. I think if you've ever wanted to go from stock to RP-1 or anything like that, that is the thing that, okay, order of size, magnitude, fuel types, everything, but the engines not restarting is just, it changes how you do everything. How can I combine things? Anyway, we finally make our way to Earth, and you can see we've developed the interesting role situation. I'm not entirely sure what I was doing or why I was doing it. I think we just developed a role. And this craft did this quite a bit. In fact, somebody has commented, a lot of my crafts have developed roles, and I have noticed this. There is a lot of rolling going on in my crafts, from ones that launch and they sort of barrel roll over their fronts, to this thing doing this, to Ascent Guidance putting roll in now all of a sudden, or not stopping the roll, I think it might be. We have an awful lot of roll going on in this series, and it is becoming a little bit of a concern for me. And you can see here, perfect example. Anyway, it is time to get ourselves out of there. So we have detached our return capsule there quite nicely, and this is just going to re-enter. The rest of it should burn up. I'm still debating whether that's an Asterisk or a 2 kilonewton thruster. I think it's an Asterisk. Or I may have not built it as an Asterisk because I was doing something clever. The original plan was to have the same thing there. Oh, you could see the terrain jump all of a sudden there as we entered the atmosphere. So we're now in the atmosphere. There goes the remnants of that return stage, and you can see the heating building up to extreme levels. And of course, we're now on our way through the atmosphere, and it's no return. Once you get that camera swing round, it means there is no return. You can see we get a wobble again. Now, it took me a while to figure this out. I have had on craft like this, random wobbles like this before. Now, this has now done it because it's slowed down. But if you actually have a look on the top, we have our parachutes. And we've had the same thing, I think, on Venus, where I got a tumble as well, and I couldn't figure it out. And it's a stupid mistake. I mean, it is one of the stupidest mistakes you can make. If you can't guess it, I'm not going to give you a clue. Just think, what mistake could I make? There's one parachute gone. The others, oh, there they are. The others have gone as well now. Oh, no, there's one. There's a different one. Oh, hold on a second. Why did I have 2 parachutes go at different times? Why is the capsule at an angle? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because 3 of the parachutes are set up to one setting, and one of them is set up to a completely different setting. Yeah, that's the problem. So we actually have the parachute we should be using is the one that deployed later. It is smaller. The other parachutes, I don't know what they're set for. I think they're possibly set for a crew return. I'm not entirely sure. But they could be on default. But they are far too big. And as such, yeah, this took a long time. There we go. We got a chunk of science though. And that's the big bonus. We got a lot of science. So this is basically, we've got to the point now where I can't spend the science. We need to upgrade the R&D facility. I'm going to get the money for that in the next episode, because we're going to get the money to do that from elsewhere. However, before that, we have the first of a lot of launches. I'm going to condense these a little bit, but you're going to get to see them all, sort of, in a way. This is Pathfinder Mercury 2, so it's basically a duplicate of the Mercury craft that we sent the Pathfinder Mercury first one, not the Metal 1 and Metal 2. We're actually going to send the one that was successful. We're going to send another one of those. We have a mission for it. The mission is basically, I think it's orbital science and things like that. It means we can send a craft to go to Mercury and do some science. And we've got plenty of science we can do on Mercury. And we can get a lot of money for it. So this is basically just me getting money. It ticks off another set of missions. It gets us some more science from around Mercury. And it prepares us for if I choose to land on Mercury. I can't remember if we've got communications on these things capable or not. I will have to have a look. We may end up having to send a Mercury communication system, which would be well, it'd be interesting to have to do it. Let me just say that. I've never had to send a communication system to Mercury, but I quite like it as a mission. Comment down below. Do you think we should do that? A Mercury communication system? Anyway, first stage, it goes out reasonably okay. We've got the boosters have basically gone. I know we get the call for get the boosters removed, you know, discard them. They're countering this, and it doesn't help. It's dead weight. Yeah, the craft, oddly enough, is more stable when they're like that, okay? It just feels better. I know I should have them on decouplers and stuff like that. The actual technicality of putting decouplers and solid motors on them to push them away so we don't interact with the rest of the craft, and then all that, it actually negates the bonus that they give having them decouple, which seems very odd, but the timing of them is so simple. It's not a big issue. I can throttle I think I can throttle the male engines. I don't know if I can, but anyway, it's a big, powerful first stage. It gets us up there, and great stuff. You know, I'm happy with it. And this is this launch stage that we have used a lot now. The Javelin 75. I think 75 tons to orbit is a good chunk, and I am actually starting to think about what's the next step now. I mean, logically, in the past, I would have gone for like 150 tons to orbit, and when you get to 150 tons to orbit, you get to big stuff. I mean, we're talking huge fuel tanks. We're talking you might as well launch a space station in one go, things like that. So, yeah, comment again down below. What do you think about that? I mean, do we just do multiple launches? We can automatically launch them now. I can do it in the background. I don't actually need to show them anymore. I can show you the failures, and then just, you know, you can see the launch, the craft when they're in orbit. You can see them do their stuff. Or do you want to see us try and build the big beasts, the 250, 200, 500 ton launch vehicles? Do we go that far? Do we take the series that far? I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. So anyway, yeah. So this is the Mercury craft. You have seen it before. I mean, I've tidied it a little bit. The main thing is we've taken out, I believe, I hope I have. Oh, now this is gonna haunt me now if I haven't. I sorted out the excess fuel that was actually in the probe core at the top to try and give us a bit more delta V. So that's been sort of sorted out, because we did have a little bit of M13 or M10 when we were running on a M3 engine, or vice versa. So we fixed that, sorted that, I think, probably. We got the second stage, which is basically the workhorse now. Our second stage, our transfer stage, basically the workforce. Once we can get it into orbit, it is sorted, and it will basically do all the work. You can see there the RCS comes off, stabilizes it. As we had comments in the other episode, this thing, you noticed there was no roll on it, there was no tumble, because it's tumble, I think, with these things. It starts to tumble, and I don't know what is introducing the tumble to this. They do seem to tumble in a haphazard manner, and I'm not quite sure why. Anyway, enough of that on orbit. We're going to fire it out there. Yeah, I'm not going to show you all of the liquid hydrogen burns, because, well, it's a bit of an annoyance, shall we say. There would be a lot of them in this episode if I showed all of them. So I show you a taster. What you can hear is I'm firing the RCS. I'm firing the RCS because I know that this whole stage is probably going to get expended doing this. It ain't going to Mercury. So I might as well fire the RCS off that stage, primarily to give us a bump, get it done quicker, but also just to make sure that we get everything out of this stage, because potentially we'll need to use some of the next stage. Anyway, got ourselves en route-ish. You can see the encounter isn't perfect, and this is an annoyance. It annoys me that I can put in maneuvers and they just don't come up perfectly after burn. Even if you get maneuver planner to do the burn for you, it will not be perfect. And particularly with Mercury in place like that, it can be expensive to fix, as we saw from the Metalcraft. Actually, if you choose the wrong route when you're actually doing this, and you start going, you know what, I'm going to go radial, or I'm going to go prograde retrograde, or I'm going to go inclination. If you start going the wrong route there, or you don't play around with it, you can actually cost yourself a lot. Now here, I was actually doing the burn. I wasn't doing the maneuver node. I had decided we're just going to burn. We're just going to burn it, and then I'm going to do it manually. So right now, I am literally, you can see I've got it fixed on through Smart SAS, or Smart ASS, Smart ASS. I've got it fixed on prograde, and I'm just basically burning my RCS to try and get it on target. And I'm just checking where we are, what we're doing, all. So if you can see, I'm a reasonable distance out from the Earth right now, because we're traveling at a fair whack. And then I'm actually going to, at this point, I've gone, you know what, you've gone far enough. Simon says, you're going to have to put a fair bit of delta V in here. I know to get it closer, I'm going to have to put a bit of delta V in because we're so far from Earth now. Now, I could wait until we're interplanetary. I could wait until we're close to Mercury. But we're so far from Mercury right now that I'm not going to wait until I get into Mercury's sphere influence. It's too far. And interplanetary is always a bit, I know I'm on the ascending descending node right now, so to me it just seems logical to do it now. So we put a few in, and it's not a big jump, but you can see it is just about playing around with these things, and this is real time. I mean, okay, the craft is at 3 times warp, which is probably a silly idea because you'll find out in a minute. I left it on 3 times physical warp and didn't realize, which explains why I get a bit juddery at the end. And by the way, if you haven't realized, yes, this is post commentary, primarily because if you can hear, I am not as well as I should be. The voice is a little bit stuffy. It was almost non-existent when this was going on, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to. I wasn't feeling ill enough not to play the game, shall we say? It was something that was going to distract me from illness. And I don't know if you feel like that. Do you ever get that feeling where you just not you're ill enough not to want to do stuff, but you can mess around? So this was me messing around, and I thought I'd go to Mercury when messing around, and but I wasn't able to really speak. I was very under the weather, very very poorly. Not as poorly as this craft will be if it hits Mercury though, and that's actually what it's going to do at the moment. So we'll fiddle around with that and get it sorted. And you can see I started thinking, right, gravity assist. Is there a side of Mercury I want it to go on? So what I actually started doing was going in and out and looking where is its resultant orbit going to be, because sometimes I can tell if your apoapsis is lower after you've done your little flyby like that on the predictions, brilliant. If it's higher, you're on the wrong side. Interestingly, you'll notice we're not actually coming equatorial. We're actually coming almost sort of, I would say, 60 degrees, maybe 45. You can play with a bit. What I would do is if you are coming in at a very sort of odd angle like this, don't worry about it. But what you want to do is you want to try and put the point at which you cross your equator of your moon, planet, whatever it is you're going to, try and put that on your periaps. Number one, because it's just cool. Number two, because when you capture around that, your periaps is going to stay there. Your apoapsis is going to be the opposite point, which means if your periaps is on the equator, that means your ascending descending node, the point at which you cross the 0 degree marker, the equatorial plane, is going to be on an ascending or descending node. And it's also going to be on a periaps or apoapsis. And it's always nice, I think it's always nice to have your apoapsis and periaps aligned with the ascending and descending nodes. For me, it just makes life easier. If you choose to go polar, it's dead easy to fix it still, because it's dead easy to increase your inclination. Let's be entirely honest. It's a lot harder to zero out your inclination than it is to ruin your inclination. We've all done it. We've all gone, oops, I've gone the wrong way and now I've got to fix it. It's going to cost me twice as much time and effort to do. So there we go. It's me just figuring out what I want to do. I actually let the maneuver planner do this burn for me. And I'm not entirely sure why I did. I think because of what it was, and it was an engine burn, I wanted to get it as close as possible, but there you go. We'll get it nice on, easy done, sorted. And so this is us going to Mercury. And of course, we can just refine it a little bit with RCS, but we want to try and get it as low as possible because I want to get the O-berth effect. The O-berth effect is key for us. Mercury is an absolute nightmare to get to, and it's a nightmare to stay at. That's the problem. Now, obviously, in the real world, we'd have gravity assists. I have considered it with Mercury. In fact, we've got, I think it's Metal 1's doing gravity assists, which I think I've cut out of a lot of stuff because Mercury, Metal 1 or 2 has done about 4 gravity assists past Mercury at this point, and I have cut the videos because it's excessive. It's not really helping, and I think I've sent it. It might be the last episode where I sent it into the planet, or I was going to send it in the planet, or I've set it to go into the planet, and I may have just got rid of it from my calendar. I'll have to have a look. Is it on the calendar there? I don't know anymore. So we're gonna see what I did do was I time warped this because I wanted to get it out of the sphere of influence of Earth, and the reason I do this is I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid that it will jump, that the patch conics will decide that when it goes across that boundary, it will jump. Now, I can load the game up sometimes, and it's perfect. It goes across the different sphere of influence boundaries wonderfully. Sometimes not so much. Every single one will be a problem. But then equally, just doing a time warp does it as well. Anyway, so we put the science on, we get all that going, and then I think it's time to move on to the next one. And by next one, I mean next two. And yes, I have turned the volume down on this rocket launch, and we've sped it up a little bit because we are launching two of our Javelin 75s. That's right, two. I mean, not at the same time. It looks like that, but you can tell they're not at the same time. We're launching Series 1 and Series 2. Can you guess where they're going to? Yeah, they're going to Series or Series. I don't know. Actually, I need to check the pronunciation of that. The Americans will no doubt question it. What I do like is the fact we've got different clouds. I like this. You can tell it was obviously one day after the other because of the clouds. So there we go. Get rid of the first noisy stage. And this is Series 1 and Series 2. And they are, surprisingly, they're on our Pathfinder craft. And these are these Pathfinders, if I get it right, are basically the sisters of the Mercury craft. So they do not have solar panels. They are nuclear powered because Ceres is further out. At least I don't think they are. I think they're nuclear powered. I'm hoping that. We'll probably find out. We'll zoom in and they're not when I'm completely memory right. They were supposed to be nuclear powered because Ceres is close enough so that nuclear power is not a big issue. It's not going to degrade, but far enough apart away so that actually the sun is not as bright as you'd like. And of course, these things, I think I might be able to land. Okay, now it's a debate. There's a reason I'm sending two of them because it's likely that it's going to go wrong. So I think I might be able to land them. Whether I do or not depends upon the missions because, yeah, the missions are a bit interesting because sometimes it requires new craft. Sometimes it lets you land anything. So we will look at that. Anyway, they're in orbit. So it's time to get them, I was going to say out of orbit or beyond orbit. That's probably the wrong thing. So the first one that we're going to launch, this is, well, Series 1 is departing and we just get ourselves sorted out. You can see this is sped up about 2 times, 3 times, something like that, 4 times. So it is 4 times speed up. And you can see here, I'm actually setting it because I'm like, okay, I want to go at a certain time. I don't want to go just yet. Okay, I want to wait. I want to go. I'm going to sort this out. You may be asking why is he leaving it? Why? But it's okay because we come back to it nice and quickly. And yeah, I was actually just one of the things I've started doing is logging out of the craft and back in when they develop a role. And we mentioned it at the start there. The roll, a tumble, has been annoying me beyond belief from my launch vehicles. I'm not sure what it is because the launch vehicles are pretty much stable. And then there's a almost a forced booking roll on decoupling of the upper stage. And I don't know whether it's the actual transfer stage, whether it's the upper stage of the Javelin. I don't know. But it seems insistent on doing it. And it's starting to get a little bit, it's getting very annoying because sometimes if I leave it, it uses all of the RCS on it to actually stabilize it. So you can see here, by logging out and backing it seems to have fixed it. There's some sort of odd glitch that's kicking in. And we are getting glitches. I don't want to preempt the end of the series with we're getting glitches because it always seems like the sign, isn't it? Everybody always says, I'm starting to get glitches, and then 3 episodes later, right, we finished the series. We've had glitches in this series now for probably the last 50 episodes, if I'm honest. So I wouldn't worry about that. Anyway, enough of that drivel. Let's get on. So this is Series 1. Off it goes. I'm gonna show you the whole thing. Yeah, I'll probably show you the whole of this burn actually because. Why else would I not want to show you the whole of this burn? But what we will do is we'll go from 4 times speed to 3 times physical time warp and 4 times speed. So we're doing 12 times speed. But you've never seen a Hydrolox engine burn that fast before. There we go. Nice and easy. And then, of course, at this point, I thought I'd slow it down and let it finish off. Now, the interesting thing is you see how much extra delta V that stage has. There is 1,000 meters per second in that stage. It is over-designed, okay? It's over-designed because it was designed so I could use the same craft on Vesta and Ceres and not worry about either of them. So there's just a lot of extra delta V on it. The Javelin 75 gives you the ability to basically put up a lot into orbit, a lot more than we need to complete that mission. So if we're sending up a craft that can do it, we might as well just do it. And you can see here, I'm just playing around a little bit with the maneuver node just to try and get our encounter. For some reason, I've always found that the sort of first encounter with Vesta and Ceres is pretty easy, and then you come back to it and try and do it again. It's an absolute nightmare. They are small, obviously. They're not planets. You know, this is a small planetary type body that you're approaching, but it is tiny. So there you go. We're just getting close in, and as long as I get near it, I'm not too bothered. You can see here, I could fiddle around with it. What I'm actually doing here is learning what my different things do, as much as anything else. I'm learning what the characteristics of this approach to series is. You know, if with this craft I'm doing, ooh, you can see it's a bit pockmarked. It's not the nicest of things, and we're going to use the actual, well, the first stage of the probe. It's actually the secondary transfer stage, but yeah, it was yeah, you've seen it. It was designed for Mercury, wasn't it? I mean, you know, it's going to go all the way there, but you can see there the RCS on it. We can just force it, and it does not take much at all to get this thing into its working order and so forth like that, and it's all done. Wonderful, sorted. Moving on. Do I show you the next one? Probably better if we just skip it. Yeah, it does the same thing. You get the idea. Okay, I couldn't skip all of it. Okay, so you get the ending. So we've done our departure burn. We're on our way. I think it's a lovely image. This I had to include it. You can see the transfer stage gets left behind there. We do our tiny little burn, and you can see this one is actually coming in as well. And we're just going to do again the RCS burn. And I can't remember if I put this on the opposite like orbit to the other one. I can't remember actually. But again, you can see the RCS is pretty much overpowered for what we need to do here. And Ceres is one ugly, ugly planetoid. That's all I'm saying. But what I did do on this one was check the delta V requirements for capture, and that was quite important for me. I wanted to know I actually had the delta V for capture. So get the science stuff sorted out, and I guess we get to move on to something else. We can't do any more launches. That's 3 launches. No, yay! That's right, another set of launches. Because if we've gone to Ceres, then by right we have to go to Vesta, because Vesta, of course, Vesta and Ceres come together. If you're going to go to one of them, you might as well go to the other. Interestingly enough, the transfer windows come pretty close together. I don't know if that's coincidence for me, or if it's always like that. It might be to do with their inclination. It might be to do with their orbital period, the Earth's orbital period. I don't know. They always seem to come close together. It seems common. So yeah, again, we've got some Javelin 75s. We launched 2 of them. We have Vesta 1 and Series. Vesta 1 and Series 1, Vesta 1 and Vesta 2, and you know the naming's wonderful. Now, these little craft are a little bit different to our previous set of craft in the fact that, well, you'll see. So Vesta 1 leaves just normally. It just gets out there. We set its course for Vesta. It does its burn. Wham bam, sorted. And then we basically do what we've done before. We have a look around. I keep that first stage attached, the transfer stage. Probably should have binned it straight away, but we keep it attached and we get this roll. And then I start messing around trying to stop the roll. This time we don't jump out and do things. And yeah, that roll continues. So we actually do use quite a lot of delta V we use a lot of RCS just trying to sort it. Now, luckily, it didn't get worse. It didn't develop into anything really bad. But you can see here, we're just basically going to control it. We're going to control it and try and actually get hold of what's going on. But we're going to use it to our own advantage, because you see, I noticed that it's actually bringing it round, and it might bring it near to our target burn. So we'll maybe come back to that and do the stuff at the right time. I start to think maybe it's useful. However, actually getting this nice close approach, yeah, we have to put a bit more delta V in, and it's the same as it was with Ceres. Vesta, it's okay to get a nearby approach, but actually getting a nice close approach, it's a very hit and miss system, and I'm not sure what the best way of guiding you on that is. But yeah, that's basically what we got. We had a little burn, we burn-defied it. It got close enough. I'm not gonna go through it with you, but we got it there. It was wonderful. Its sister craft, Vesta 2, however, yeah, this is a different story entirely. So Vesta 2, it did its burn just like its sister craft. We've of course got it on 4 times speed right now, and we've got 3 times on the screen, so that's, it's going through the thing quite nicely. It does its departure. It's got its departure going on. It's leaving the sphere of influence of Earth. We know that. We've got the camera turn and everything. And of course I used the maneuver planner for it. And it wasn't until it wasn't even at this point that I realized what had happened. At this point, there we go. Did you see what happened? roll it back and have a look. Yeah, I hover quickly over the fact that something's going on outside the solar system, and I'm not entirely sure, not outside of Earth, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. You'll notice, I can't really see any of the orbits. Yeah, I can see that I've got an orbit going out, but I'm not sure on the actual interactions that are going on. The problem is, I have an encounter with the moon, which means the patch conics goes, you have an encounter here, then you have an encounter with the moon, then you go back in the sphere of influence of Earth, and then you go out of the sphere of influence of Earth. And patch conics, I think, only works, I think it's 5 jumps, and we're getting close to that. Okay, so you can see here, we're now on the blue. So if we had an interaction somewhere else, it just doesn't show anymore. Okay, so we do have an interaction, but we're having to go through the moon. Now, I don't know about you, but I've said at the start of this episode, I'm not a big fan of transferring sphere of influences. We've added 2 sphere of influence transfers I don't need to do here. You can imagine the mindset I was in right now. Why am I doing this? This thing's going to go wrong. So to help it, I got rid of the transfer stage straight away, and we're gonna go along. We're gonna do this burn as quickly as possible and get it done. But I then have to make sure that it doesn't hit the moon, or in fact, the moon isn't going to get close enough to mess it up. So there we go. That's it. Oh, look at that. We were both overburn a little bit. You know what? I'm fine with that. That's actually really good. It's really nice. So then we have to time warpy. That's it. Get rid of that. Thank you very much, sea monsters. I have to time warpy. I have to monitor this thing and make sure that nothing goes wrong. So we're going to warp through the moon. Now, if it goes wrong around the moon, there's not much I can do. In fact, now we're away from Earth, every movement we take is going to cost us a lot of delta V. So I'm acutely aware of the fact that, you know what, Vesta isn't as easy to land on as I'd like it to be. And delta V for capture might be a bit tight right now. So at this point, I'm starting to think, do I just write the craft off, put it into lunar orbit? And I start thinking, does it have comms for communication back? Is it going to be useful for anything? Yeah, lovely view, but a bit crazy. Yeah. So you can hear we're about to we've basically gone past the moon. We're about to go out into sort of interplanetary space and see how we go. And then we're out there. So we're now into the moon sphere influence. There we are. And yeah, we're going to go past that. And we're past it again. We're going. I don't know. We're all over the place. Here we are. We're now in the Earth sphere of influence, and we're going to come out the other side. We still got to wait a couple of days, get past that. Oh, we go. Got to slow down here because we don't want to jump. And you notice after going through the moon sphere influence, I checked whether we were still on target. Then once we've gone out of the Earth sphere influence, because that's the big one. So now we look again. Just have a look. We've moved. So you saw we were right on it. We were so close and beautiful. So now I start playing around. I'm like, okay, I could get the maneuver node out. Why do it? Anyway, from me, until next time, have a great one.